Yeah. We can make a toast. Don't you do the most. I've been waiting all day just to see you play. When the time is right, we can vibe all night. She's so fine, okay, like in every way, like in every way, like in every way.
What's up, everybody? I'm Nicole Scott,
And I'm Jason Scott.
and we are your Scott's Land Love podcast host. So, welcome back to another episode. We hope that you guys were able to catch our previous episode featuring our son.
Yes, we really starting to get in the hang of this, so it's really starting to be really, really great episodes, that we putting out. Continue, like I said, in all the episodes, continue to like and share and comment each and every time on every single episode that we put out. Hit the link, hit that notification, and subscribe to our platform. And also, we put these out on Spotify, Apple, and so listen as well. Also, we got the visuals, but we want you to listen as well to help us out on our platform. So thanks a lot for that.
And we also thank you for being interactive with us. I know we've been receiving some feedback. You may not post a comment, but you might send a text or send us a private message letting us know how you are enjoying the content. So we really appreciate that too. Some of you know us really well, so it's like you can kind of understand when we're actually in the heat of the moment with something and voicing our frustrations about this a specific topic or how we feel, and so it's easier for people that have a connection with us that kind of know, like, I know Nick is this or I know Jay is that. And so we just really appreciate, like I said, the support on that end. I honestly feel that what Jason said, I do think that we're trying to start to get the hang of it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little more at ease with as we go along, and so that's a good thing, as long as he don't like irritate me and I gotta just like bop him real quick.
Right, but still, we can't wait to really get away from this phase and get our guests involved and help
But
our
this
guests.
phase is still good too.
Yeah, this phase is actually is great, but it's also having our guests involved that really helps it a little bit as well. So
Yeah.
that would be awesome. But if you look at our previous episode, we had our son on as a guest, so that was an excellent episode, and we like to continue to chop it up with our guests when actually the world opens back up and we can get out and do these things.
Yeah, so I was not our last episode, but the last episode was featuring Jameer, but the previous episode we basically were talking about compromising, and we dug into like how beneficial it is to compromise in a relationship, because sometimes the smaller things can lead to a bigger and larger issue later down the line. So
Yeah.
I was laughing because I actually when we were having that conversation and towards the end of our episode, you may have you've witnessed Jason and I having a slight disagreement about the word want versus need, and how we disagree on our perspective in terms of him thinking that he needs me to cook versus him wanting me to cook.
Right.
And so I know the real deal. I ain't gonna try to get that in again. We're not gonna go down that path. But it brought me to an interesting concept, or just like an interesting thought pattern about me learning how to not always have to have the last word for a disagreement when we're having a disagreement. So, because I'm going to tell you that sometimes it is very difficult when you are having a conversation with someone, and it doesn't really have to be your spouse. It could be anybody.
Right.
But I think it makes the most significant impact when it's with your spouse, because this is the person that you're married to. This is the person that you are on a life journey with for forever, right? And so it makes it difficult if you guys don't agree on something, but if one or the other is not agreeing, how long are we going to go back and forth on this? And so having that conversation during that episode about, you know, him needing me and wanting me or whatever the case may be, it really brought me back to that, like, you know, how much I've grown. And it just poses the question, do you have to have the last word in an argument? Like, do you feel that in order to get your point across, you're willing to keep on, and not even an argument? Sometimes I think that it becomes an argument if you let it linger on.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it becomes an argument because the other person that you know, going back and forth, what may feel some type of way, and may feel like, you know, they want to get that last word, and you know, battling with them back and forth.
Where they're not being heard.
Right, and they're not being heard, so you feel as though you want to get that last word, so it could become an argument. I mean, and for me personally, I can say that I can say more so in my past, I felt as though I always wanted to get the last word. I mean, at times, you know, I learned to, you know, try to just, you know,
your past.
In my past, I mean, I'm
past
still,
as in last week.
I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress, but
I'm just saying.
But in my past, I know I always wanted to get the last word. I was stuck on, you know, whatever the case was or the situation was, you know, I was right in that situation, so I was gonna get the last word no matter what. That's how I felt in my mind, and that's how I try to come across to whoever it was. It didn't have to be Nicole. It could be anybody, a friend, or, you know, because it's like, you know, I'm a sports person, so it's like I had that competitive nature. So it's like when I feel as though I wanted to get something across, I always felt like I was right on that situation, you know, especially in sports. You know, as a male, you always feel like you want to, you know, get the last word because you was always right. I mean, especially if you thought you was good at sports, you felt you knew sports, you knew the, you know, whatever, you know, the sport was, you felt like you had the last word because you did it. You was playing it. You know, you was in it. You knew that well. You knew that subject well. So how did he or she know, you know, better than me? So it was like I always felt like I wanted to get the last word in that situation, and that's what probably fueled me in other situations that I always want the last word. And I think in my past, that's how I felt. But I think in a relationship, I kind of, you know, changed my ways slightly to, you know, compromise a little bit more. So, you know, whatever the situation was, it can kind of meet in the middle, you know.
Well, yeah, to some extent. I think, and this is, well, when you say your past, I think that's why I'm saying I had to learn to, so basically how I see this is, you know, we're doing this podcast and we're having conversations. We're talking about our relationship. We're talking about relationships in general. We're talking about love. We're talking about a plethora of things, right?
Right.
So to me, I feel that we're not going to always have the same perspective or point of view on something. So it might be times where we're actually having this because we don't rehearse this. We're just talking. You know, we'll discuss it ahead of time. Hey, this is what I think I'm going to touch on. But when we're in front of you, we're not sitting here rehearse. We didn't rehearse what we're going to say, right? I might look up some things and try to get some points together, but I want it to be a transparent platform. And so we don't want to come in front of you guys or have you listening to us and we're just fluffing everything up like, oh, it's just so grand. This is how it gets. That episode where we're going back and forth about, you know, you need me or you want me or whatever. This is how it gets with us sometimes because we're both trying to prove to one another that I'm right.
Right.
Or he's saying he's right. I'm saying I'm right. And so there have been times in the past, and Jason is right, where I wasn't feeling what he was saying. It didn't matter. And he has a way that he can agitate me. Yeah. He can get under my skin. Right. And I was cracking up because my friend Nah, shout out to my girlfriend Nah, put in the comments, I could see she said she could see it in my eyes that I'm sick of his antics. And one thing about Nah, she's been around. She knows she's one of our closest friends, so they know our chemistry. They know she knows how much Jason can get under my skin, and she will dig in his because she's my friend. So she calls him out on it, like don't be, to my, whatever. She defends me, although she know I can defend myself. that was where I always felt like I had to be, in the defense mode every time he said something that I didn't like. And I felt that he kept talking, I had to keep talking, and then it becomes heated, and now we're both upset, and it's becoming a bigger thing than what it really needs to be. Ladies, it took a lot of prayer and supplication for me to really get where I am today. I'm telling you, Jason can tell you, there are several times where we've had disagreements, and I'm like, I must just stop talking. He knows that I say this, and I'm telling you, he will say a couple more words after I say I'm gonna stop talking. He's still, you smiling because you know it's true. He'll keep on, and it takes everything in me to contain myself not to respond back to him, because I don't agree with nothing you're saying right now. After this time where I said I'm gonna stop talking, I think he feels like that's where he got to get his punchlines in. Boom, I'm gonna go out with this bang.
Gotta get him in.
That's not really that's not really how it is. This is how it really is. And I wholeheartedly don't agree with him, but I'm not gonna.
Gotta get it in.
See, so he was telling a false. He was being false earlier, saying in his past. He mean my past like 3 days ago.
Sometimes I mean, a lot of situations we had, I kind of gave you the last word. I let you say you right. I did that plenty of times. I mean, I may not remember because it's hard for me to remember a lot of things, but I'm sure I've gave you,
But
the
you have a
leeway
way.
in a lot of things.
You have a way.
I do. I know I have a way.
I
know I have a way
yes.
of
because you antagonizing, you keep on
keep on throwing it at it because obviously, I feel
because you want to be right, and we both are strong minded. We both strong minded. I'm a strong woman. He's a strong male.
Right. I obviously feel as though I'm right as well. So it's like I'm gonna speak up on what I think is right. I mean, that's just me. That's my nature. I'm gonna speak up on what I think is right.
But I think for me, what changed my perspective about trying to have the last word on an argument and just bowing out gracefully is I wanted to feel like I wasn't like being disrespectful. Like it's kind of weird. Like I feel like it's a form of submission as a wife for me, to just not always have to have the last words or have to have something to say back to him when I don't agree with him, because the Bible does reference, I really do read, and I read that the Bible does reference that we are to submit to our wives. I mean, a husband submits to us for love. They're submissive to us to show us love, and I feel like we are submissive to them to show them respect. So in my mind, although I'm not agreeing with him, I'm really just not. It's almost like a child. Like every time you say something, the child has something to say back. And it's like, well, Dad, why every time I say something, it got to be an argument? Now, he not totally disrespecting me.
And I don't look at it as an argument either. I just look at it, we just communicate.
It can become an argument.
It can, but what I also, in those situations, I think about like researching whatever the situation is. Mm-hmm. So if we don't agree, I always think about, to compromise the situation, we can do our research outside of ourselves and figure out, and research what's the right answer, and then we can come together and kind of squash that situation. That's how I look at it sometimes as well too. But sometimes we don't get to that point.
But it may not always be a right answer to. It has to. You talking about a certain situation?
Yeah, I'm talking about a certain situation or topic.
But when it comes to feelings, if you're trying to tell me how I really feel or how I'm like a behavioral trait, I don't feel like you can research that. You can't tell me how I feel. If I'm telling you that I feel a certain way and you're saying, well, no, you don't feel that way, you feel this way, that leads me to want to argue back with you, because it's like, no, that's not true. And then it's like, well, you do, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going back and forth, and then you going back and forth.
Yeah, well,
and we're not getting anywhere.
I'm not referencing that situation. I'm talking about something totally different. I mean, feelings, I can't tell you how to feel. If you feel that way, that's how you feel.
I mean, you're right. You can't tell me how to feel. However, I feel that it's both ways. Like, if you know that it just like I've grown to learn you and you've grown to learn me, it's like if you know that you can sense the frustration that I'm getting frustrated or I'm upset, or getting agitated by whatever is happening between us at that given moment, I feel at that point, then you should know when to fall back to. But I don't feel that I think sometimes you feel like you just have to prove your point so much that you don't do that. And that's what makes me feel the way I feel. And it's just like, you know what, I'm just going to stop talking. And then I think at some point I'll come back to it when I feel like it's less tension. We're in a better space and we can kind of communicate about it without feeling like we're, both trying to prove a point or get across our points or whatever the case that, may be happening at that time situation. But you can't research, because you're saying about researching.
Yeah, you can't. Well, you can't research everything. Some things you can, some things you can't. You can't research everything.
A feeling is a feeling.
Yeah, feeling is a feeling. I mean, I can't tell you how to feel. In that situation, it would be different. I would just have to figure out a way to kind of meet in the middle and kind of, or fall back on that. But like I said, before, I'm working on that. So sometimes, like I said, the competitive situations, I always want to get the last word and kind of win that argument or that situation with a male, and it kind of sometimes bleed over into, a relationship where you always feel like you want to get the last word, and that could be, my issue.
Yeah, I do think that, and I don't really think it's like an issue. I do think that because we are just like who we are, like a lot of our personality, and I know that you had said something about like having me, you build me up to just have that thick skin where I can handle. I mean, I feel like you always have to put something with a reason behind why you do the things that you do. Although it don't be making any sense.
It
and
makes
perfect
sense. Okay. You probably like,
but the way I handle something at work, because you'll be like, oh, well, so you know how to handle things when you at work. And when I don't need, you like, oh, well, you're a boss, so you know how to handle your people. And it's like, okay, yeah, but I feel a lot. I can't be argumentative. I'm not going to argue back. Well, not argue, because I don't think we argue. I feel like we more disagree.
It's not an argument.
But I'm not going to have that same energy that I have with you to tell you you're getting on my nerves that I have with somebody at my job. I just can't say to them, you know what, you're really getting on my nerves, and I honestly wish I could replace you right now. That's where they take me sometimes, where I feel, because I'm dealing with this personality or dealing with this situation and I'm really not feeling it. With you, it's a different connection, and I'm more of myself when I'm home.
Right.
So I can be like, you're really getting on my nerves, and I'm just not going to say
anything but
else.
when I talk about building you up, in the situation and when we at home, but it's not always about, translating over to work. It can also mean in your friendship, with other family members, just in general, with people in general. It ain't always got to be work.
Family think they know everything, and you can't. You say you can't keep up with them?
Yeah, I can't keep up with them. Their win factor is on 10 plus 10, because they just every time you get in some kind of debate with them, they won.
But these are like, but him saying
bow out.
But him saying this. That's like a real life example of my level of when I start getting upset or not upset. I more so be agitated because he tries to tell me, oh, your family, they think they know everything, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, wait, what are you talking about my family? Then we're going back. I'm disagreeing with what he's saying, and then he want to keep on.
I mean, the crazy thing is that I would think she would be built to take on this as much as her family is so much like that. You would think you would be, this would be nothing to you. But
I ain't got time to be going back and forth with Jason. I really don't.
She come back similar to, some of her family members, but sometimes she give in, just like
I give in because
in a relationship we do give in each other sometimes, back and forth.
Yeah,
and you got to do that.
And like I said, it's like we're not perfect.
It's a give and take.
It's give and take. Like, I'm not perfect, he's not perfect, but we're perfect for each other. Like, it's destined that we are together. So it's like, if somebody is not with Jason, they might be like, I don't see how she did. Cause you have said, not you, but people I
might have said,
you may have
I don't
looked
see how
at
they
a
deal with that person.
relationship and look at a person and be like, how they deal. Everybody is wondering how
I pretty
somebody
much
deal
said
with
that. I probably
someone,
said that.
a personality trait about other people. And people are probably thinking the same thing about us. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, I've learned to grow. I've learned to learn him. And so therefore I'm able to navigate around conflict and around these kind of type of situations that Jason corners me in. Because he has a way of cornering me. It's just like, and then afterwards it's like nothing ever happened. He like, babe, what we watching? And I just be looking like I don't be feeling like dealing with him at the time, but it's just a self-discipline. It's just like takes self-discipline.
I mean, for me, a lot of those situations that we may go back and forth with, I don't really think it's that serious. You know what I mean?
He don't think anything is that
sometimes,
serious. That's why I said I feel like I'm always the one.
It could be on like a play around type of thing. Sometimes I go back and forth just to be funny. That could be my, that's my nature, just to be funny. And she may, think it's a serious thing. I think
he like when he like to see me
just,
get all upset.
That's just how I am. Go back and forth, but it ain't really about nothing. And so I, sometimes would go back to her like nothing even happened. And she'd be like, "What?" Thinking like, we just going back and forth about this, but I forget all about what it was. Because it wasn't nothing. It was a joke to me or something like.
Yeah, but but when it's more of a serious matter, I do think that we have learned to kind of like come back around and just be like, all right, let's talk about this when there's less, like I said before, there's less tension and things are not, and even our kids, like there have been a few times where we were debating, I would say more so a debate in front of the kids, and they be like, okay, mom, like they get uncomfortable because they're like, okay, where's this gonna go? She's saying one, he's saying one thing, and it's just like, no, and we're like right in front of the kids disagreeing, because it's never going to be a heated, I think if you continue and you say it's not an argument, it can lead to an argument if it becomes where you're just going back and forth. Yeah. And it's not a win. It's not a winning argument. You didn't come into the conversation to try to win your point. But if you don't feel that you're being heard and you kind of feel like this person is just not getting it, that's kind of how I look at it with him. It's like, he not getting it. I'm just going to let it go. And I'll say to him, okay, I'm done talking. He'll throw them last couple points in, like I said, and then I'll be like, you know what? You're talking to yourself at this point. And when he realizes I ain't saying nothing, he eventually shuts up. But it's just like the pit of my stomach. I'll just be wanting to just, oh gosh, y'all don't understand how hard it was to get to that point. I wasn't always a mature, like I wanted to be petty. I felt like it's just a petty thing to do, and I wanted to be petty too. But I didn't want him to feel that I was just always just so disrespectful. Like I always gotta, every time you say something to me, I got a word to say back. And it doesn't make you silent. It doesn't kill your voice, because I feel like you can still have a voice even when you don't agree at the time. But it's just, in order to avoid this long-term conflict, I'm just gonna let it go.
Yeah, but it's all a matter of what the situation is. Whether or not, y'all both can agree or not, or disagree. But, a lot of times in our case, I think it's just, simple situations. I don't think it's really that deep.
Yeah, because I do bring his words back to him. Like, okay, we had that whole debate about needing versus wanting. And I said, oh, you going to go do something? So are you going to come with me? Not if you going to come. You don't need me to come with. And then I'll be like, oh, you don't need me to come with you. I do. He like, but I want you. And I'm just like, but I feel like I can do, and this is probably going into a whole nother conversation, but I feel like I can do a lot more things independently without Jason. I'm willing to do, I'll put it that way. I'm willing to do a lot more things without Jason. Jason feels that he needs me to be with him to do a lot of things. No. I don't feel like he wants to do a lot of things on his own that he can do on his own. He prefer that I'm with him for certain things. And so we are in this as a team. So, I like to work as a team. Yeah, but some things don't require me to do. It's not a requirement of me.
I think we better as a team. That's why I like her to be with me at pretty much whatever I do. But Scotland Love, we brought this together as a team. So,
but this is one of the. But I remember saying to you, I didn't want to do it because I'm like you will say something that will just irritate me, and then I ain't gonna want to do it no more. Remember I said that?
Yeah, she said that, but I also said I would do it myself. So I could be a one man band.
Well, he should. Well, he can. And see, this is what I'm saying. He's throwing them little jabs and don't really. You don't really mean it. Yeah, you probably did. Would do it on your own, but you don't want to do it on your own. So, therefore, don't say,
Yeah, I don't want to do it on my own. That's the reason why I asked you. But in my mind, before we started this podcast, I always had in my mind that I was going to do a podcast, but I wanted to do something, with you. So I figured, let's bring it together. But I was always going to do something on my own if you didn't want to do it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Realistically.
Okay. But little debates like this can make us go back and forth, but
because when I think about doing something outside of my comfort zone, I thought about this, and for me, I always like to get better. I like to improve myself. So I figure if I do something like this, I can get comfortable with it, and it would get me outside my comfort zone, and I'll be better at it. So I usually try to do things that I'm not good at, to make me better in something that I'm not good at. So that's why, I wanted to do the podcast. So it's not only really to benefit you, it was to benefit me as well. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I think that's a good way of thinking about things. I think the only way you become comfortable doing something is by repetition, and you have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And I think at that point you will become more, you will overcome those obstacles that you've had at one point where you have felt contained, like you couldn't really talk, or you were.
And I said really that in my previous episode, I didn't really like to speak, in front of people and stuff like that. But this would give me more comfort to do it, in front of people or whoever. I'm already comfortable now because I've been doing it for a while, but I never had this platform. So this platform's a little different, and now I'm speaking basically to the whole world, really, now. So, they got to hear me now because I'm here. So
I feel that. Well, I wanted to, I'm just glad that we were able to touch on that today because, like I said, it's really important that you really assess yourself first and just really understand, like, okay, is there something there that I could pretty much try to resolve within myself that might help this situation in terms of, just having the last word is really not all that important. Like,
right.
It is not, you don't go into like I said, you don't go into the argument to win. It's not, it becomes an argument if it escalates and it becomes, more intense as time goes on because you're going back and forth with each other. But I'm really glad and proud of the growth that I feel like I have achieved over the past few years, where I have been able to kind of just really just close it. Like, you know what I mean?
And when she say close it, that's kind of meaning like we came to an understanding. And that's what we want to do in our relationships. We want to be able to come to an understanding. We don't want to, be bickering back and forth and have this, I didn't win type of attitude to really mess up the whole relationship, start arguments and things of that nature. So we must come to an understanding within our relationship to help it, kind of grow and not let these, misunderstandings, these situations that you think about I won or you lost type of thing ruin the whole, relationship. So we have grown, in our relationship, and we have been able to come to an understanding and realize that it ain't about, who wins or who loses. It's about, making the relationship grow and continue to move forward, and that's what we're trying to get across to, our listeners.
And you may not always come to an understanding. So it ain't because we came to an understanding. It's because I'm just not going to waste no more energy on this conversation.
Yeah, that.
Because you're not listening. And all right, you got it, whatever, So I agree, you know, like I said, we've been able to agree to disagree, and it all just ties into being able to compromise and, you know, just being able to be mature enough to know when to step away before things get worse than what you really want them to be. So I think that it's good for all of us, all of you out there, to assess yourselves the next time you're getting in like a heated conversation or discussion with your partner. Think about it and just be like, you know what, is it really worth me saying something that I'm going to regret at some point? So
Right.
I think
Right. And I mean, and some of your listeners out there, just feel free to comment, you know, if you have any situations that you may be faced with that, you know, you and your, you know, whatever relationship you have, maybe a friendship, you know, maybe a family member or even your spouse that you're going back and forth with. If y'all had some situations y'all couldn't really resolve, you know, let us know in the comments, you know, anything that you can think of that, you know, maybe broke, you know, not necessarily broke y'all apart, but it started an argument that y'all couldn't kind of resolve. You know, let us know. Maybe, you know, we can help in that situation. Maybe, you know, speak to you and help you resolve that or get an understanding as we talked about.
So we welcome the comments. We welcome the feedback. We want to continue to hear from you. We hope that you're enjoying our content and enjoying us. You know, we're just giving it transparent. We're being as transparent as we can possibly be. So we get excited and passionate about things that we really feel strongly about, as you can see. And so we'll continue to, you know, bring the real.
Right. Continue to, you know, continue to lock in with us. Continue to subscribe, like, share, repost, whatever, you know, you do to, you know, help us out. That we appreciate, you know, all that type of stuff the listeners do. This is, I think is great for a lot of relationships and even people looking to get in relationships. This is an excellent platform that you can tune into and hear some, you know, different topics to help relationships grow. And we're going to continue to, you know, feed y'all with different content to help, you know, relationships grow. As we talked about previously, we getting used to this. We kind of getting used to this setting, and we want everybody to we want everybody to tune in and continue to, you know, listen to, you know, Scott Slaying Love, you know.
All right, so stay safe, stay positive, and know when to shut it up. So I'm your host, Nicole Scott.
I'm Jason Scott,
and we out.
Deuces.
Like in every way, yeah. I've been waiting all day. What do I know? What do I know? All I know is we can vibe though. If you wanna, what if you wanna, what if you